This is the Missouri Southern State University Coaches Show with head football coach Atiba Bradley and sports director Ryan Bunnell.
Welcome in, everybody, to another edition of the Missouri Southern Coaches Show. As always, I'm Ryan Bunnell, joined alongside MSSU head football coach Atiba Bradley, and we'll be talking all things Lions football as Southern coming off a 44-17 loss against UCO on the road in Edmond, Oklahoma. And Saturday's loss brings the overall record to 3-7, which is one regular season game remaining in 2025. Coach, we'll start. Just what are the emotions coming off the loss against that tough Broncos defensive unit?
Yeah, obviously disappointed. I knew they were a good football team, and I thought we would have a little more success against them, and unfortunately we just couldn't get it done.
Absolutely, and you said it before that no matter the result, there's always positive takeaways and kind of things you can look at to work on and or improve down the line. I mean, after this game, what are some positive takeaways that you have? What are some things you liked out of your group on Saturday?
From the positives, I think at times we were able to rip off a couple runs. There were some positive runs that kind of got us going a little bit, and then defensively, you couldn't really see it, but there were a couple shot plays that they tried to take that we were able to defend and kind of keep a cap on. So those would probably be the two biggest takeaways.
Definitely. And all right, let's go ahead and hop now into some film from Saturday's game, get into some specifics. Not the ideal day overall for the offense, just 171 yards total, 148 through the air, 23 net in the run game. Coach, last week Dimitri Lloyd was on here talking about prepping for the Broncos defense with a ton of talent on that front seven. Is that Broncos defense what you expected to see, or what kind of adjustments was UCO making throughout this one that made it difficult to string together some first downs?
Yeah, I never want to take credit away from an opponent, and that's definitely a talented front. But we've had more success versus better opponents, and again, it's not a shot at them, but it's more indicative of what we were unable to do, and we just kind of shot ourselves in the foot. And so, as we continue to just be the best version of ourselves, we just got to be better executing.
Do you think that just boils down to just basic execution, or like you said, kind of limiting those mistakes?
Yeah, I think it's a lot. I think there's a lot of things that go into it. I think it is limiting mistakes. I think it is, again, being comfortable in the positions that you're in, and again, credit to UCO for some of the three-man front and the stuff that they were doing out of it. But I still think it comes down to we got to execute at a higher level.
Gotcha. And, there were some bright spots for the offense in this one, such as that Tillman Martin pass to Isaiah Padello in the end zone, as you see on your screen. That was as time expired just before halftime. This is now the second time that Martin and Padello have connected for a last-second touchdown like this. What do you think that really says about Padello's ability to make big catches, even when the offense's back is kind of against the wall?
Yeah, I mean, he's like most receivers or offensive skill guys. Like, he thinks he can beat anybody one-on-one, and so when he goes out there and runs his routes, he runs it with confidence. When he goes and jumps up for the ball, he does it with quite a bit of confidence, knowing that he believes that ball was intended for him and nobody else. So.
Yeah, definitely. The sophomore receiver has grown a ton this season. Padello had both of the Lions' touchdowns in this one. Southern trailed 21-10 at the halftime break, but the Broncos came out strong in the second half. UCO tacked on 16 unanswered points to open the third quarter with a pair of short rushing touchdowns and a chip shot field goal. Obviously, coming out of halftime, there's going to be a game of adjustments on both sides of the ball, Coach, but what sort of adjustments did the Broncos make at the break to really kind of ensure the momentum stayed on their side?
Yeah, I thought offensively, UCO really was committed to running the football, and they did not waver from that. If anything, they turned it up a notch in the second half. And so I think that was probably their biggest adjustment, was just continuing to run the football. And then defensively, I think they just continued to apply pressure with their front three and making us one-dimensional, which we've talked about before. That's just not a good recipe to win football games.
And on the flip side, taking a look at Missouri Southern's defensive performance in particular, the 44 points on the box score doesn't really do it justice. The Lions D did have some big plays in this one. Season high 9 tackles for loss as a team, a forced fumble. Hindsight is 20/20, Coach, but looking back at this one, what are some things you liked out of the defense, and what are some things you maybe would want to see executed at a higher level?
Again, anytime you get a couple turnovers, I think that's always obviously a positive. For what I didn't like, we just didn't tackle well. And I've talked about tackling is so much of a mentality and a confidence in your leverage. And there were times where it looked like we were wavering from that, and so that it showed up in some of the yak yardage, and their tailbacks and ball carriers were able to extend drives by just getting some extra yards.
And we've talked about kind of limiting the explosive plays. UCO didn't have any 70 or 80-yard breakaways, but they did have a decent amount of 25, 26, 30-yard plays that kind of helped them move the ball down the field. All right, let's go ahead and take a look now at that final score. As we mentioned, 44-17 loss on the road for Missouri Southern. Lions are going to look to close out the regular season strong with one final game against the Washburn Ichabods coming up this Saturday. Coach and I will be back later in the show to preview that matchup against Washburn. But first, I'll be joined by Missouri Southern running back Nathan Glades and offensive lineman Alex Curry to discuss their upbringing in Joplin youth football as well as their time as a Lion. That's coming up right after the break. Stay tuned.